Hi, my name is Bruce Bolger, and I'm founder of the Enterprise Engagement Alliance, and we're dedicated to helping organizations worldwide profit from a strategic and systematic approach to people across the enterprise. And today we're doing a session on ISO 30414, the Human Capital Reporting Standard from the International Organization for Standardization. And JetRuby is a worldwide technology company that's among the first to implement this ISO verified human capital report. So we're very pleased to introduce Svetlana Gorykushkina. My pronunciation, I'm afraid, is not great, but you'll correct me, Svetlana, in a minute. And she's Chief People Officer for a software engineering company, JetRuby, and they're the first technology company to publish a verified ISO 30414 report. And we also have David Simmonds, and he's chairman of HCM Metrics and also a professor in the area of human resources and human capital. He's also with the Freeman-Guild of HR Professionals, and he's the first UK practitioner of ISO 30414 standards. So we're happy to have him as well. And I just want to quickly thank the companies that support the Enterprise Engagement Alliance and that make these types of programs and our many resources possible. And many of our resources are free, such as access to this video, many articles, our e-newsletters, and whatnot. So thanks everybody for joining us. And I'm now going to stop the share. And Svetlana, while you get ready for your presentation, I wanted to ask David quickly, you're a long-standing practitioner in human resources. You were one of the first to jump on this ISO standard. Why do you think it is still so many human resources people still resist it, why it is still a door closer with so many human resources people when companies like JetRuby are embracing this strategy?
Thank you, Bruce, and it's delightful to be with you today. You're absolutely right. I went on a workshop 7 years ago called HR Analytics, and I thought that doesn't even make sense. How can you have HR and analytics in the same sentence? However, I thought, I've seen the future. But talking to many HR people, they're lovely, lovely people, but they don't do numbers. And I have a hypothesis that many HR professionals used to hate the maths teacher. But the future, if HR is going to change at all, it needs to have a seat on the board. And people have been knocking on that boardroom door for years, not realizing that at board level, they speak a different language of graphs and charts and numbers and spreadsheets. I think you're right, it is slow, but there has been remarkable change, particularly during the COVID pandemic, when people have seen the importance of analytics and reporting on HR to deal with and respond to the pandemic. So I think going forward, I think the future is fantastic for HR analytics.
Well, thank you for that great introduction, David, because as we're going to see from Svetlana, you did not get into this for compliance purposes. You didn't do this because the Securities and Exchange Commission required it. You're not a public company, and the SEC in the US doesn't require it, nor even in the UK or in Europe are anything but basic human capital reports required. So Svetlana, I'm going to turn it over to you to explain to us why you did this and what you've learned.
Thank you, Bruce. Thanks for having me. It's my great pleasure to be here. So let me share just some information about my company, a short introduction. The company was founded in 2010, so about 10 years ago, as a Y Combinator startup. At present, we are 300 people. We have our headquarters in the USA and several offices in Eastern Europe for engineers. At present, we have clients in 24 countries. You can see the map here. And about 46% of our clients are in the USA. Most of our clients live with us for a long time. 42% of them stay with us more than 3 years. And we are top rated by many software development B2B ratings and review platforms, for example, by Clutch. This is just a short introduction of the company for you to understand it better. And now the reasons why exactly we went through the certification. There were two reasons. The first reason was about marketing. Our people are the core of our clients' products. And of course, our clients were constantly questioning us about the skills and motivation of our people and also about the workforce availability. And we had an idea that it could be of great use to go through some widely recognized certification so that we could show the certificate to our clients and they could realize the level of our human resources. And the second reason was completely internal, because people is the key value of our business. We have no machines, we have no goods to sell, no plants, no factories, only our people. And the business model starts with people. The human resources impact is easily calculated. For example, we need about 5 engineers to start a new client product or project. And in case we do not have 5 engineers, in case we lack engineers, we cannot start the project and we lose the client. So it's easy, more engineers, more clients, and more revenue. And just the same idea about more motivated and skilled people means higher effectiveness and quality in production. And one more idea, happy people mean happy clients. So this is just a part of our mission. And I think no one needs any proof about it. So 2 reasons. And also, there was quite a long process to choose the standards. I was looking for something internationally recognized and for something fresh. I found out about ISO standard and it was issued in 2018. I thought that it was quite fresh. And also looking at the map, this very map here, I found out that there were 28 countries participating in the standard creation. So this very map actually convinced me because I realized that it is a truly international standard. And the second reason was about the data and measurability of the standard. I needed something data-driven because most of our clients are business people and it's nice to talk figures with them. And I was surprised when I found out that the ISO standard is highly data-driven. And also it's good from the internal point of view because it's easy to talk to your financial manager or to talk to your maybe business owner. So it's quite data-driven and it's very good. Also, I found out that the experience of the audit process and of the report preparation was quite long. It took me maybe half a year, but it was only because it was my first time. Right now, I realize that it can be maybe 2 months. So it's not rocket science at all, but it requires maybe some highly skilled people near you, like experts or advisors, or maybe an auditor ready to help. So the main holdups I personally had were mostly about finding an expert to help and finding a certified auditor. And also maybe finding out some examples of good reports because no report could be used as a model since no company had published the ISO report yet. And this was quite a problem because it's always easy to repeat and it's not that easy to be the first one. But I believe that nowadays it's possible to complete the certification maybe in 2 months. So the reporting framework, I think it's the main idea about the approach because the ISO standard describes practically all human resources areas, but not only human resources, also business topics. So to my mind, it's not a human resources standard, it's a business standard because it has a story about leadership, of course, but also about clients, about maybe some ideas of bench strength or something like that. So everything you can see here is in the standard. And
Svetlana, I did want to interrupt you for one moment to point out that
sure.
you and David used an ISO standard developed by the International Center for Enterprise Engagement, which includes 3 elements that are not in the standard ISO 30414. So a company that wants to do ISO 30414 technically does not have to do 12, 13, and 14.
Yeah.
Customer engagement, supply chain, and community engagement. But Our view in creating this version of the standard, and we have that right to do it, the way ISO works, was that, as you say, all people are stakeholders, and to ignore all other stakeholders is a mistake. But technically, a company to get an ISO 3041 certification does not have to comply with 12, 13, and 14. So you're to be given extra credit for going that extra mile to do that. But I want to make it clear, it's not required under the standard ISO 3041 for certification. Sorry, but go ahead. I wanted to make that clear.
Bruce, thank you so much. I should mention that supply chain engagement was not included in my report because we do not actually have any supply chain, but we have a lot to do with customer engagement and community engagement, especially customer engagement, because we believe that client is the main idea of our business. We exist because we want to make our clients happy. This is a part of our mission. So I think this was the focus of my report. And the community engagement is very important because engineers is a great community. This is not just because they are engineers, that's because they are people working internationally and they have great international community. And I think I have maybe 3 or 4 pages in my report about engineering community. This is very important. So thank you for the information you added. So the process, the third process of what to include, this was very important in terms of we wanted to include practically everything because it was important for us that we had everything audited. And we had 2 versions. The first version was for auditing, for David actually, and it included everything. And the second version was for marketing reasons, and we excluded most of financial information like revenue, like profit, and so on, because we didn't want to share it with maybe other companies just for competitive reasons. So here you can see just a picture, an example of what we included and what we excluded. For example, revenue, the absolute figure of revenue is excluded, but we can see the change rate. It's very good that the standard allows to have change rate and to compare it. I think it's good enough for comparison, and it's also good from the competitive point of view. So data collection, I think it was very difficult because we've done this manually and we've done this for the first time. It took significant resources. First of all, I needed assistance of all the managers, finance, legal, compliance, engineering, all the managers of the company were helping. And also I needed 2 people, just 2 guys to help manually to collect the data. It was not automated then. Right now we have an automation. I think it's very good to have it. It allows me to have all the data online and no people needed. So we also had 2 data issues. We've done this for the first time. So we had no long story of collecting the data, no statistics. We lacked the complete trend analysis of 2 years data with comparative seasons. And we also lacked internal and external benchmarking. And it turned out that it was good enough and we could compare half years to get relative understanding of trends, but we agreed that it is necessary to have this data in 3 years when we want to go through the certification for the second time. So it's good enough that the standard allows this. The report preparation was not a problem at all. It was like writing a report at the university, maybe like writing a small diploma. It took me 1 week and it was like 30-page document, so not a problem. And I had 2 versions. The first version was a complete version for the auditor, and the second version was for marketing purposes. And the auditing process consisted of 2 stages. The first stage was pre-audit, and the second stage was the audit. They are quite similar. The pre-audit took about 2 weeks, and the result was a traffic light report, which was of great use, to tell the truth. We had reds, ambers, and greens areas, red, amber, and green areas. And the main idea is that there shouldn't be any red areas to go through the certification successfully. We had, I think, 2 of them. Then I had some time to improve the report. And after that, I had the second stage, one more audit. And the result was a report made by David to the registrar with a recommendation that our company was compliant. So the certification is valid for 3 years. In 3 years, we are going to go through the process one more time. The results, I think this is the main part of our story today. We've completed the certification only in the beginning of this year, so like maybe 5 months ago. And I don't think that we have significant measurable results right now. But anyway, we have 3 types of results. The first type is internal. And the main idea about it is that we are very proud of the fact that we comply with the high standard. So that's good to know, and we are really proud about it. The second idea is that we've used the auditor's feedback for our human resources strategy improvement. It really helps to organize the strategy. And the third idea was that it was a good starting point. I think that in 3 years, we are going to improve a lot. And I think that maybe even this year, we are going to have great results due to this standard and due to David's help. So the second part of the results, this is automation and product launch. We automated the human resources metrics because it's very difficult to collect them manually. It's not actually possible. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. So we have it automated right now. And it turned out that some of our clients are interested to use this automation. And we decided to launch a new product. And we already have 2 new clients with this product. I think it's great. And also marketing results. We already have very good positive feedback from our existing clients. They say that it's great to know that we have the certification, and I think they trust more. And also we have some feedback from our salespeople. They say that the certification produces great impression on our potential clients. And also, we couldn't think of it, but it turned out that our candidates, our engineers, also feel very positive about it. And they want to join our company because they know they can be sure that we are good from a human resources point of view. So I think that it's good to have the certification, even if you do not need any public disclosure. So my advice, I think we should definitely implement the standard internally in case, even if you do not need any official disclosure. And it will help to have good level of human resources. And also you can be maybe a little bit proud of it. So that's good to know that you are compliant. And here you can find some information about me in case you feel like connecting and maybe asking some questions, you're highly welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Svetlana.
You're welcome.
We're going to, I'd like to conclude with a little discussion with both of you about this. So, David, getting back to the practical reason, why did you decide to move ahead with getting certified in the standard? What made you do that?
Thank you, Bruce, and thank you, Svetlana. That was a wonderful presentation, and it is really comforting to know that what you've achieved is what we hoped from this. Bruce, my passion in life is to shift HR. For too long, it's been hidebound in a backward-looking reporting, kind of a service mentality. It's transactional in its approach. My passion is to shift HR into its rightful position in the boardroom as taking a role as leader of significant strategic transformational change. And the way we can do that is to offer the ISO standards ready-made as a framework to put on top of any organization. It's applicable throughout the world, not just big corporates. It is applicable to SMEs. It's more difficult, but it's applicable across the board, all industries, all sizes, even in the public sector and the not-for-profit. So it's a way of upskilling and upgrading HR to make it a leader of change for the future.
So Svetlana, your background is HR. What made you embrace really a metrics-driven approach?
I think that I've never faced any problem when human resources people had to prove anything to their owners or to their directors or to the company that they're not significant, or maybe that they really influence the company's results. Maybe because I've been working in IT for like 15 years. So the only reason I had, the main idea why I wanted to join the certification and to implement it, was the effectiveness, the internal effectiveness. Of course, it's good for clients, but the main idea is that all the human resources processes are up to date, that they are really forward-looking, that they are about the future. And now I'm sure about it. I can use this standard as a kind of handbook for any human resources person, just to read it through and to find out if they are compliant or not, and to use these metrics to measure themselves. It's really good. I think it's of great use.
And I think you were saying earlier in your presentation, Svetlana, you mentioned 50% change in revenues, which is outstanding. And
yeah.
I think many months ago when we were discussing this, I think one of the issues that one of your clients raised was, is this sustainable, this kind of growth in revenues? Is it also sustainable in recruitment? And I think that was one of the driving forces internally, whether you could sustain this and whether you could demonstrate this. And without divulging any confidences, I think that you found through this exercise that recruitment wasn't too bad. You could prove that you were recruiting and so on. I think, if I remember right, you had some problems because people were leaving out the back door. And so we highlighted an issue, not so much with recruitment, but maybe with management. And I think you've instituted some management development programs on the back of this, and hopefully that will reduce labor turnover.
Yeah, right. You are completely right. First of all, people is the basis of our company. So we have nothing, we only have our people. And we are to work with recruitment, with retention, and also with development of our people, with their motivation, with their skills. And we really had a problem with turnover. We had this maybe in 2021, and right now it's much better, but still have it, of course, but it's much better. So the main idea is not only to recruit, but also to retain our people. Good. And I think this standard really helps because we've improved our processes. Now we can do this in a better way.
Fantastic.
So, well, David, I wanted to ask you, and both of you really, in the US, and I am not a very big fan of forcing companies to do things or people. Mask mandates, unfortunately, really didn't work because when you force people to do things, they cheat and then they don't do it right. And then they say the mask mandate doesn't work. You can't, and the same with forcing companies to do things if you're not. But my point is that the companies that were being forced or thought they were being forced to do this, their objection was that it was too difficult, that to get this data was impossible, that it would cost tens of thousands of hours. I'd like each of you to answer the questions because is it impossible to get ISO data? Because, by the way, the ISO data far outstrips anything that the SEC would ever require the US companies or public companies to disclose. So David, and then Svetlana, how difficult is it to get for even a big company to get this data?
Thank you. I think, in fact, particularly for the bigger companies, it's very, very easy because most of those large corporates will already have a human capital management information system or platform. People like SAP and Oracle and Workday and Cornerstone, this is bread and butter for them. And they're churning out these reports very, very quickly and very, very easily. The issue, I think, is not so much how quickly, but how well. And it does require a degree of resource to focus on the 11 13, 15 areas that the HR. Let me give you an example. In the UK at the moment, we have a client who's going through this very process, and they asked me that question: how difficult and how long? And I said, well, and this is a huge organization, it's a multinational food and beverage manufacturer. And I said, well, you need to think about writing a report on your HR. It should take you, a company which is used to certifications and standards in food production, it should take you about 3 months. If you devote one person for one day for those 10 or 12 weeks, and you should be able to get a really good report out of that, both in terms of quantitative and qualitative outcomes.
Would that, Svetlana, mirror what you would say?
Exactly. I think it's very easy to collect the data because the list of the data is just very reasonable. I've worked in a larger company before, about 1,000 people, and we had all this data because we actually needed the data. And in case I was going through the certification with my previous company, I think I won't have that many difficulties collecting the data. So here, JetRuby is quite a small company. So we've never done this before, and we had to collect it. It was for the first time, but it took us about 2 months. So it was not difficult. I think any company can do this, no problem.
So now let's get to the preparation process. There's one thing people need to know. You can go out and get help in terms of developing a strategy from an implementer, but you cannot use the same organization to certify it. So David, and then I'll turn it over to you, Svetlana. How do you recommend that companies, address that issue of separating? So for instance, I can hire you, David, technically to help develop my implementation, but if I do that, I can't hire you to do the certification. Just explain that quickly. Absolutely.
It's a brick wall. And that's why I'm so pleased that one of the major elements of the standard is on ethics. This is in line with all the ISO management standards. So this is not new. When we go in, we first of all get the client on board, and there has to be some kind of awareness raising, both with the board of directors, because they got to release resource and they've got to implement it, but also with HR, so that they are singing from the same hymn book. We're not there to be examiners or policemen or inspectors. We're there to hold their hand to achieve their objectives. There will probably be a pre-audit, helping HR to know what to look for and how to present it. And then the HR function needs to spend some time, as we've just described, preparing the report. At that point, the auditor goes in. And as Svetlana's already said, they will prepare a traffic light report in line with compliance. When we give that report, the client will usually say, can you help us improve? Which is a natural thing to say. And the auditor has said, no, I'd love to, but do you know what? It has to be arm's length. It's a conflict of interest. However, my company, HCM Metrics, provides a list of preferred suppliers. These would be HR consultants, generalists, and specialists who could help the client improve. And that's a completely separate contract.
So Svetlana, in your case, you were provided assistance on the implementation development of this and in writing the report, but from a company financially separated from David's company that did the certification.
Exactly. First of all, I had an expert to help me to understand the standard in the very beginning. It was quite difficult because I've never done this before, and I knew nothing about the standard. Then the expert advised David as an auditor. And we had some pre-audit with David. Then David advised a list of some experts to help to improve the report. And after that, I had the final audit. I think it was very good because a lot of people were ready to assist. And it's good when you do it for the first time.
That's great. Any advice you would have, Svetlana, in convincing management that there's a return on investment for this? You obviously had to get the CEOs and the senior management's back up for this. Was that a problem, and how did you make that argument?
in my case, it was not a problem at all. First of all, I think that it is not that expensive. So it's not really expensive for a business. Then we had one reason, which was marketing reason, and it was easily calculated because we knew a number of clients who wanted to have some proof about our human resources level. So I just mentioned these clients, and we discussed that it could be very good to have this certification due to our clients. So it was easy for me, not a problem at all.
Well, thank you. So David, one last, I'm going to ask each of you to give your last pieces of advice to anybody interested. David, your last piece of advice, and I'm going to end up with you, Svetlana.
Well, let me just pick up on the ROI. Do you know what, Bruce? I've been in learning and development for many years, and we've been used to developing the ROI of learning and development. It's in the other aspects of HR, which is very new. We can now, for the very first time, measure the ROI of HR. And I was talking to a potential client not so long ago. She was senior VP of HR in a multinational telecoms company, and she had half a dozen of her subordinates online. And we're doing the marketing and so on and so on. She said, no, I bought it. I'm there. But how much? I said, what do you mean? She said, well, what's your cost? What's your fees? Commission? I said, no, we don't work like that. It's all about your investment and the return you're going to get. She said, yeah, but okay, what's the return? I said, well, let's put it like this. Have you had a middle manager leave your organization in the last 3 months? She said, of course. And I said, what's your average turnover amongst that people? She said, I don't know, 14, 15%. I said, that's normal. I said, what are they earning? And she said, maybe 45, 50K. And I said, and so you're turning over 14, 15%. Would you like that to be reduced by 1 percentage point? And she said, yeah. How do you do that? I said, I don't do that. Your HR does that. We just prove it. He said, yeah, but how much is it going to cost? I said, okay, let's crack through the numbers. Earning, say, 50K, you're turning over 14, 15%. Crack through the numbers. Replacement cost is normally 75% of payroll. Crack through the numbers. The cost of replacing one of those managers is greater than your investment in this program. And we went through it, and her return, ROI, year 1 was 25%. She said, no, you got it wrong. It must be 2.5. I said, let's do it again. Year 1, ROI, 25%.
Well, as we all know, many executives are driving with one eye on the road. They don't even know what the human capital ROI is. One of the calculations in ISO standards, human capital value add, revenues, costs, willingness to refer of customers and employees. These are data that most CEOs don't have that have a direct link to the bottom line. Svetlana, you get the last word. Any advice to companies, organizations considering ISO 30414 human capital reporting?
Oh, I think you should definitely implement it because it's very good in terms of human resources. And I think it's also very good for your business. It has great return on investment, as David explained already. And I'm sure that your people would be grateful to you. So just do it and be proud of it.
Well, thank you so much to both of you for your time today. Again, this program is going to be available for at least 12 months on the Enterprise Engagement Alliance learning platform. And so anytime folks want to contact you, your information will be on the footer in the summary of this video, so people don't necessarily have to watch the whole thing. They can get a summary and contact you. So thanks again for both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.